So basically, I just want to give you some data. The average house in the US has 30 light fixtures, and about 14% of our household electricity use at the moment is from lighting. And on average in 2008 in the US, the average house spent $185 a year on lighting. So one way you can really save money and reduce your energy use is to think about lighting alternatives. You spend more electricity for lighting on average than your washer, dryer, refrigerator, and dishwasher combined. There was the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007 was passed by the federal government when that mandated improvements in lighting efficiency. Just like a lot of appliances over time have had to increase their efficiency, they passed this act which also said that lighting had to increase efficiency. So that's changed a lot of our lighting. If you upgrade 15 lights in your house from an incandescent, you can save about $50 a year on your lighting electricity costs. The original light bulb was invented over 130 years ago. Thomas Edison, you probably remember that from history. And it's the same light bulb we've been using for a long time as the original Thomas Edison light bulb, essentially. Then in the mid-1900s, LED and fluorescent light bulbs were developed by General Electric. By the mid-1990s, new technology had greatly improved the LED and fluorescent bulbs. So you look at incandescent lights, which is your traditional light bulb that people have been using for a long time. It actually has very low efficiency. A halogen light bulb, which is essentially an incandescent light that has a halogen center so that the filament lasts longer and increases the efficiency by a little bit. The fluorescent light has much higher efficiency, and we'll talk about what those actually are. And traditionally, the fluorescent lights were the long tubes, and you probably still see fluorescent lights various places. In fact, in fluorescent lights, in whatever form, whether there's the compact fluorescents, which are the spiral ones, or the smaller fluorescents, or the long tubes, are exactly the same technology. Hold on. So just talking about fluorescent lights, either compact fluorescents or regular fluorescents, they release 75% less heat than the standard incandescent light. In fact, one of the problems with the incandescent light is a lot of electricity that goes into that bulb is actually released in heat, so it's actually wastes a lot of energy as a result. In general, a fluorescent light can pay for themselves in 9 months, is what the statistics I got, although we just had a lecture by Efficiency Maine talking about the compact fluorescents that are being subsidized by Efficiency Maine. You can get them for about $1 a bulb now in the state of Maine. She said, based on that data and the cost, you can start paying off in about 8 days. So you can increase your energy savings by switching to fluorescent lights or compact fluorescent by 75%. Now the downside of fluorescent lights is they contain small amounts of mercury, because basically in the tubes, so fluorescent lights have tubes, either the traditional fluorescent light is a long tube, or the compact fluorescents are small tubes which are coiled to make it into a smaller space, and basically you have mercury vapor that's in the tube. Now, if you look at, so one of the concerns about using fluorescent lights is that there's small amounts of mercury in the compact fluorescents themselves. If you look at the amount of mercury overall in the US, the amount, if everybody switched to compact fluorescents, the amount that would get into the mercury into the environment would be much less than what's happening now, because a lot of the mercury that's getting into the environment is from burning fossil fuels, especially coal. Then we have LED lights, which are probably the latest technology. And they stand for light emitting diodes. And these do not have any mercuries, they do not have to be recycled, and they're actually more energy efficient than the compact fluorescents. Now at the moment, LEDs cost more money than the compact fluorescents. I'm sure over time, with new technology, that cost will come down. But it's the highest cost per bulb, but it's the best use of energy. And they actually last a long time as well. So an LED saves about 75 to 80% of electricity costs if you compare it to incandescents. It lasts 25 times longer than an incandescent bulb. The average is about 25 years. And new bulbs are excellent for white light. One of the questions with some of the fluorescents and the LED lights at first was you didn't have the same soft light that you would get with the traditional incandescent. So some people were reluctant to switch. But with the newest technology in LED and the compact fluorescents, they have solved that problem. LEDs at the moment are expensive, however. So let's just look at energy comparison. If you have one bulb in your house and you turn it on for 3 hours a day, over time, this is what happens. So your average 60-watt incandescent bulb uses the same amount of electricity as 43 watts of a halogen, 15 watts in a fluorescent, and 12 watts in an LED. So that's how much the same amount of light that you're getting in your house. So compared to a fluorescent, of course this should be energy compared to an incandescent. This is an incandescent, so the halogen saves you about 25% of energy. The fluorescent saves you 75%, and the LED saves anywhere between 75 and 80%. The yearly cost of running one incandescent bulb for 3 hours a day is $4.80. Halogen $3.50, $1.20, and $1. But then based on the cost of and how much the bulbs last, a year, 1 to 3 years, 10 years, and 25 years, on average, is what they would be expected to last. So if the cost of an incandescent and fluorescent bulbs are about $1, which is what you can get now, especially with Efficiency Maine giving subsidies to the fluorescent bulbs. And the cost of an LED is about $12 on average. You look how much you save over 1 year, 5 years, and 20 years. This is for one light bulb. You can see that in a 20-year period of time, you're going to be spending a whole lot more money for that just one light bulb if you had put an LED in rather than change the light bulb and use an incandescent. So you can see that you can save quite a bit of money. So hopefully I've convinced you to at least switch to compact fluorescents, if not to LEDs. Now one of the questions that always comes up with compact fluorescents is what happens if they break, because compact fluorescents, like I said, do have mercury vapor in them. It's a very small amount of mercury compared to, say, a mercury thermometer. The incandescent as I remember, is about 5 milligrams, and a thermometer is about 500. So it's not like it's non-existent. So if a mercury bulb breaks, so you should recycle them, you shouldn't just throw them in the trash. And almost all home stores and hardware stores do have recycling places in the state of Maine. So if one breaks, they suggest not vacuuming, because that's going to put the mercury vapor into your house. But clean it up either with like a piece of cardboard or something that's sort of rigid. Then use duct tape to get any pieces that you can. Air out the room, because of this is mercury vapor we're talking about. So get it outside as much as you can. Put whatever you've picked up in a sealed container, either a plastic bag, a jar with a lid, something that can be sealed, a coffee can, something like that. Take it outside as soon as possible, because you don't want it in your house if you can. So you want to get that out of your house as soon as you can. I did read that there are some states where you can actually bring the bulb that's broken and what you picked up to a recycling center, and they'll take it as well. I do not know if that's true in the state of Maine. So that's my lecture on lighting. Do you have any questions you can think of?
I feel very fortunate that when we built our house 5 years ago, we put the
Compact fluorescents in?
fluorescents in.
Right. So then you didn't have to deal with the incandescent issue.
And they're just starting to fail. We've had, I think, 2 fail.
Yeah. still have a few compact fluorescents that I've had for probably 15 years,
Mhm.
still in the house. And we've just started switching to LED lights recently,
Well, it
and had
looks like we're gonna make that transition.
yeah, so it
too.
looks like that's the wave of the future,
Yeah.
essentially. I mean, the other thing they say is, if you have a light fixture that's likely to break, if you're worried about breaking, that
Mhm.
seems to be one of the questions with the compact fluorescents. If you have a lamp that's gonna easily be tipped over by your dog or something like that, don't put a compact fluorescent in it. Maybe put a halogen light or something like that. But if it's gonna be a fixture that's very stable, that's out of the way, that's not likely to break, there's really no reason that you can't put a compact fluorescent in. And then
Mhm.
obviously use the bottom of the bulb rather than the tube itself.
Yeah.
The ones that have a cover over the outside may break less often than the ones that have the direct tubes. Good.